with another puzzle video today for you guys. I'm gonna pretty much just straight get into it. If you're watching this, I will say this for every video because I don't know when the first time you're gonna watch. Basically, the best way to go about this is to pause in between each one. If you're watching this after it's live, just pause in between each one, and when you pause it, try to solve it using a simple method. The simple method is checks, captures, and threats. Um, those are basically forcing moves. There's like 16, but let's just do the first three. The first three will basically cover everything that's basically beginner, intermediate level stuff. And yeah, so now I'm gonna basically try to get this shared to my groups and stuff after I said that. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. I get this set up really quick. Apologize for any inconvenience. If you're watching this after it's live, you can always fast forward maybe 2 minutes. That should be good enough time actually. I would think it is. But right now I'm sharing to my groups. I also share it to my Facebook as well. I have a club on there called Worldwide Chess Club, so I kind of do that. Give me 1 second. Oh, 1 second. Checks, captures, and threats. Okay. That should be ready now. All right. So let's get going. All right. Well, it's only one person on, so I'll just get started. Let's see here. Let me see here. Okay, so I don't have the chat overlay. I'm gonna. Oh, okay, that's the difference. Okay, I can see the difference in the screen. I can see why I was told before that the screen got too small when I had the overlay on. So okay. Okay, I hopefully that shows the actual chats when people do them. All right, checks, captures, and threats. So let's get started here. Checks, captures, and threats. So the first thing I notice is the king's over here. I normally look at checks first, but I mean the queen's for free. But let's go over checks anyways. The check right now that I can do is queen to f5, and all the king will do is go back into the corner, and that will be it. Or even moving knight to f6. So it's not a check. So it's capture queen. The only checks that really matter are checks that lead to checkmate. So let me see something. I've tried to put this on, but I didn't think it would 1 second. Okay, I think it's actually over the bottom of the chessboard, so I'm gonna remove that. I don't want that to be distracting. All right, so checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. This right here is a check. The king is blocked in by the 3 pawns. That's looks like a back rank checkmate, basically. The back rank checkmate is basically usually when you have 3 pawns in front of the king, so the king cannot move forward, and you call check with a rook or a queen. It's a very common theme, especially when you first learn checkmates. These are the easiest ones to understand. The rook will be hitting the king, and the king can't move. The best way to avoid this is at one point in the game to move one of your pawns forward. So therefore, when someone calls check for any reason, you can move your king up. But in this case, his pawns are not forward. So that would be checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. Right here is the first check on this. The king can't go here, or by the queen. The queen has it covered. He's in check. His bishop is blocking him in. So he can't escape anywhere. So that will be check and a checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. The first check I notice is right here. Pawn takes f2, taking the rook. That's a check. It's the first one I noticed. So I'm going to go look at that one first. Yeah, it's a double check and as well. So the king is forced to move. He has to move. Double checks, you can't like block one and ignore the other. Like if I call check this way, he can't like block check because of the rook, because he also has a pawn, and vice versa. If he's in check with a pawn, he can't like take it with the bishop because he's still in check with the rook. So double checks forces the king to move. You have to move the king no matter what, because you can't block both threats at the same time. All right. So if he were to take here, I'm assuming that might be the answer, but let me look at the material real quick just to be sure. Okay, so white is up a rook and a bishop. So even if I do take here and he takes back, white will still be up in material still. So I'm not sure if that's the answer. I mean, I can call check again and force him to move. If he were to move this direction, I can call check with the bishop and have all these squares covered. Excuse me. It looks promising. I like it. Check, move up. Check. He'd have to move here or here. If he moves down to e2, that can be check. And it looks like, yeah. This looks really promising, so I'll go ahead. All right. I figured they wouldn't maybe go too far into it just because of the rating of the puzzle. You can kind of do that in the beginning a little bit, but it's better to really understand it fully. Checks, captures, and threats. Right now, this is a check. He can just take it. And then I can call check, and he can just move out the way, so he'll be safe. So I'm assuming that first things first is taking the bishop. Once I take the bishop, the rook takes, I can call check, and when the king was out the way, this is the only square, I can take the rook and call check again. So it looks like that's the answer. And after I take this, he shouldn't take it. That would be a bad move. So it's a free bishop. Okay, he did take it. So they're letting me go through with it and actually take the rook as well. But that was a bad move to take it. But he didn't have much of a choice. There's not much he could have done. Check. This is another back rank theme. When I call check, the king will move back. I'll call check. The rook will take it, and this would be checkmate for back rank. Again, as I said earlier, it's very common when the pawns are in front of the king like this. They're blocking his escape. It's very common for a back rank mate. So whenever you see these in puzzles, you should always look for a back rank mate. And when you play your own games, you should always wonder, how can I get my rook back here or my queen to call a checkmate? And with your own king, if you have that problem, you should always be wondering, is it a good idea to move my pawns forward at some point? And obviously, if they have a bishop, then moving a pawn forward wouldn't really matter too much because the bishop would have that diagonal. So you have to keep a lot of things in mind. But first things first is the whole pawn moving and not moving thing. And then as you get more used to it, you can add the idea of bishop and other pieces that are attacking. Checks, captures, and threats. Right now, the first check, the only check I notice is right here on it is c3. The king has to move back, and it doesn't matter where he moves. The reason why it doesn't matter where he moves is because this pawn has these two squares covered. So the king has these 3 squares, and no matter where he goes, he's gonna be blocked in by the black pawn and his two of his own pawns, and that will be checkmate. Next move will be a back rank mate again. That time you had your own pawn controlling squares instead of his pawn blocking him. Checks, captures, and threats. So wait to move. I don't see. Well, there's a check right here. This check, and it just unlocked. Okay, all right. So this is a check right here, and it's also a checkmate because the king can't move because the queen has these squares controlled. So it actually is also checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. The first check I notice is knight to g5. That is the first check that I notice. This knight will be attacking the king and the f7 square. The king can't move over because the bishop has those squares covered, and this pawn has these squares covered. So all these squares are controlled by white pieces right now before the move, and then after the move, he'll be in check, and this square is controlled as well. So that would be checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Now, the first check I notice is queen to a2 check. The king will only have one square to move. That's the only square he can go to. And after he moves here, it will be queen to c2 checkmate. And it's checkmate because it's attacking the king. And the king has no squares to go to because the queen has all those squares in control. So we check and checkmate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. So let's go ahead here. White to move. This is a check. The king he can move back either way, and it doesn't matter which way he moves. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because the white pawn is controlling f7 and is controlling a7. And he's also blocked by his own pawn on g7. So when the king moves back to either this square or this square, it doesn't matter. He still can move forward. It doesn't matter which square he's landing on because he can't move forward. So once I call check and he moves back, it will be checkmate because it will be check, and we already established that he can't move at all. So this right here restricts the king, and then this right here delivers the checkmate. Wait. Wrong knight. Wrong. Sorry. Checkmate. I don't know why I was focused on that rook when I was looking at it, but all right. Checks, captures, and threats. I hate when I do that. I don't know why I do that. I never was diagnosed with dyslexia or anything like that, but that for some reason in chess that happens to me once in a while. That's why I cannot play bullet games. Like I am horrible at like bullet games. Blitz I still do okay with. Mostly I like rapid or classical because I can't. That does happen to me in games, and I sometimes would actually make some mistakes over it. But for the most part, that doesn't happen. All right. Checks, captures, and threats. First thing I noticed is that this rook is under attack twice. So if I take it with the queen, it's protected by the bishop, so the king can't take it. These pawn is controlling these squares. So then if I call check, the king will be forced to move back to f8, and then I can call checkmate in one next move. So it's check, checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Black to move. Checks, captures, and threats. This one looks a little weird, but I guess I have to run with it. These are controlled. This knight here is controlling these squares. So let me just highlight the squares that are controlled around the king. If I were to, let's say, move up and call check, I'll be controlling this square as well. The king will be forced to move to one of these squares. it looks like after check, I'll be winning the knight. And then if he were to take it, I would take back. So it looks like this puzzle is winning the knight. This knight is protecting this pawn, so I'm not worried. So it's not worried about him taking it. So it looks like it's just winning a piece. All right, checks, captures, and threats. Always look for checkmates first. This doesn't do anything. It's a check. He takes. Check. He can block it, and then I have nothing else. That was a misclick. All right, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. I'll just continue. I rarely misclick, but I guess it's fine. I'm trying to convince myself of that. Queen f7 looks like check and checkmate. It's protected by the bishop, and the king has nowhere to go. The best way to learn, be familiar with this type of checkmate is learning like Scholar's Checkmate. Scholar's Checkmate basically is where you move the pawn up, bring the bishop, the queen over, and checkmate on the f7 square. Usually, when you get used to that type of structure, when you play games and so forth, you can move your bishop to c4 or b3 and have your queen somewhere, either this square or this square or this square, and attacking the f7. So like this is very common because it's a very weak square. f7 is not protected by any piece in the opening at all. It's only protected by the king. So if you attack it with a piece and it's protected, the king can't capture it, and no other piece can capture it unless your opponent made a move to defend that square intentionally, or All right, so checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. Checks, captures, and threats. White to move. Okay, so they're going down. I'm assuming the answer is just to simply just basically make a queen, but something's not looking right. Let's see something. I don't do the wheel square. I usually just count. But yeah, he's not going to make it in time, so it is making a queen. It might become a race. And if that happens, I would just end up taking the pawn first. So, yeah, the rule of square is like if he's not within the square and it's your move, you're going to make it first. In this case, the square is all the way here because it's one away. But you have your first move is two moves. So it's almost like this because of that. So yeah, so you can't make it in time. So you make a queen. Yeah, the rule of square is really weird. I don't like it the way that I learned it, but I usually like looking at it the opposite in reverse. Like I like looking at it like if there's like one away, then one away this way, instead of counting all the way 7 or 6 to 6. Like I rather count the reverse, the negative, instead of the actual. So I learned it one way, and I don't like the way I learned it. Checks, captures, and threats. This is a check and a capture, but he can take with the rook, and then there's not much to do after that. I can take the rook now, but I believe that would be checkmate against me. So because this is checkmate against me in one move, whatever the answer is, it has to also involve check. There's also the idea, let's see, if I were to call check and he were to take it, check. Okay, so the answer might be here. Check. He'll be forced to move over. This looks a little weird to me. This is like a super awkward puzzle for me because the way the whole thing is set up, it just looks super weird. Like the king just moved over for some reason without castling. All these pawns are gone. rook's not developed. Like it looks really weird to me, and I don't like it. And the same thing over here. It's not really normal to see that on both sides. All right. So if I call it check this way, he'd be forced to move, and then I can call it checkmate. Okay, check. I had to get over that weirdness. I had to talk about it. Check. He only has one legal move. Well, he can't move the bishop because the rook has it pinned. So he only has one legal move. And then I can take it with the queen, and the queen has all this covered, so that we checkmate as well. Yeah. All right. I think my mind's a little frazzled from this. So everything seems really odd for now, but that's okay. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's go here. Black to move. Black to move. This will be check. The king has one square only. The reason why he has only one square is because this pawn has this covered. The queen has all of this covered. The only square that's not covered is h4. So it can obviously know when he's going to move there. So it's check. He'll be forced to move there. So now I look at what am I supposed to do after that. If I call it check again, the king can't move back here because of my king. He can't move back if he's in check by the queen. So check, check. He'll be forced to move back. And if he moves back, that would be checkmate. So I guess I'll just go ahead and just do it. Let's check. Force him to move back. We established that when I call it check, he can't move back anymore. So he has to move back forward. I can take this too. It'll be checkmate here as well. So this was checkmate, and this was checkmate in one, both. I like the other one better because it would display a checkmate with a queen and pawn, but I guess this is fine too. Checks, captures, and threats. Wait to move. Let's see here. This is a check. The king can move here. Actually, the king only can move there. That would be checkmate in two. This is check. The king can't move anywhere here because of the rook. So all these squares are controlled by the rook. When he's in check here, all of these squares are controlled by the queen. All these squares right here are controlled by the queen after the queen moves. So this is the only square he can move to. And after that, the queen can go right here and call it checkmate. So that'll be check. Okay, well, it was checkmate in one more move. They should have let me finish it. I prefer puzzles to finish because sometimes, what if someone got lucky in the first move and don't really understand the puzzle completely? I think it matters. I really do. All right. Especially when it comes to learning and trying to understand what you're doing and why. Super important. So, all right. Checks, captures, and threats. This right here is a check. And the king can move to the side or capture. So let's say he captures, right? Well, this right here will be a check. And I'll be able to win the queen. So that'd be bad for him. So the best thing for him to do will be to move to the side. And that pretty much should be the end of the puzzle. But I have a feeling he's going to capture and me win the queen. So, yeah, they're letting me win the queen here. The best move, I think, was to move to the side over. Because now this is a discover attack. And I win the queen. Yeah. So, all right. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. Black to move, checks, captures, and threats. This is a little weird because this is just capturing a pawn. The queen and the king are in different diagonals, so I can't call a sideways check, and this is no check with the knight. So the only check right here is queen to e6. That's the only check, and he has no pieces to block it, so he has to move. So if he would have anywhere here, anywhere in the F file, I can just call it check again. If he were to move over to the D file for any reason, this right here would be a checkmate in 1. Be checking the king. The king can't go anywhere here because the queen can't go here because the queen. So I'm assuming that after queen to e6 check, I'm assuming the king's will move over. That way I can just take the pawn, call it check, and try to inch the way up the board. So let's see here. Okay, they just didn't let me finish the puzzle. Checks, captures, and threats. The first check I see is also a capture. It is over queen to h5 check. This check is also checkmate. The reason why it's checkmate is all these squares are controlled by the queen, like all of these. Because, all right, and this square right here that's not controlled by the queen is blocked by his own piece. So he's basically blocked by his own rook to escape. So that'd be checkmate. All right, checks, captures, and threats. Wait to move. Normally in these puzzles, you see the king not being able to move forward because he's blocked by his own pawns. In this case, he's blocked by one of his pawns, and the king is blocking his other squares because the kings can never go near each other because he can't put himself in check. So for that reason, this king is basically blocked in. He has nowhere to move. So this check right here will also be checkmate too. The bishop can block, and you don't want to take the rook. You want to take the bishop because you want to be checkmate. So, all right, checks, captures, and threats. The first check I see is bad. This is the first check I noticed. Like, you can just take it. I don't really see the point of any of these checks, really, because the king can just take it if you want it, or even the rook can take here. And there's no follow-up. So it's not a check, and it's not a capture. There's nothing I can capture, except for like this pawn maybe, but that's not, it's a puzzle, so it's obviously something stronger than just capturing a pawn. Here is a threat, and a threat is basically blocking in the king. Earlier, it was like, oh, if you call it check, you can just take it or just take it. But if you move to g3, g3 will be controlling these squares. The king is basically blocked in. This would be checkmate in 1. After that, he would have to move the rook over. But even still, that would be check, king move over, and that'll still be checkmate because this pawn has these squares controlled, and the king would have nowhere to go. So that would be okay. I gotta take this knight first. And check. And checkmate. Checks, captures, and threats. Checks, captures, and threats. So let's see here. The first check I notice is f3, knight f3, but I don't think that's the answer. Yeah, because after knight f3, he can just move the king somewheres, and there's not really much of a follow-up. I can't keep calling check. This is covered by his knight. Yeah, and this is covered by his rook. This right here looks like a free knight. So, but I have to make sure that it's not going to lead to something dangerous against me. So, let's say I take his knight. The queen can threaten the rook. I'll be threatening right here, but his rook is also blocking it. So there's like a lot of small things going on. He can check. He can move over. Okay, so I think the answer is taking the knight. And then if he moves down, yeah, I can't call check this way because he can just take it with the rook. And if I take, we'll be exchanging pieces. So, okay, I guess they didn't want me to go through the whole puzzle. They wanted me to take the knight. Checks, captures, and threats. And the first thing I notice is a check and a capture. And if the king takes it, you can call it check, and you're winning the bishop. So you'd be basically up a whole rook. I don't see a checkmate, so that's the answer. And the rook obviously can make it in time to prevent the queen. Wait to move, checks, captures, and threats. If I were to call check here and he were to move up, it would be a bad idea to take the rook and him take back, I believe. Or was that good? Wait, if I move my king over, yeah, I can blockade him, and then my pawn will be able to make it. Okay, because if I couldn't blockade him and my king had to stay on this file, and let's say his king can stay on the c file, I can be blocked in and it'll be a draw. But in this case here, this check would actually make it to where my king will be on the b file. Yeah, when you have a pawn on the a or on the h file, you want your king to be able to be on either the g or the b, depending on where the pawn is. Because if it's stuck on the same thing as your if it's stuck on the same file as your pawn and it's in front of it, your opponent's king can stay on the c opposing it, and anytime you make a move, he can move back and he can prevent your pawn from advancing. So in this case, that's not going to happen. So it's perfectly fine. Yeah, see how he's moving up? I can follow him and not worry about it. Yeah, you don't want, yeah, once he's able to get his king around, then your pawn's never advancing. It's just never going to happen. It's different from pawns in the center versus the pawns in the wing. There's a difference endgame for both of them. Wait to move, checks, captures, and threats. This is a check, and when the king moves over, that will also be checkmate. Wait a second. The queen. I thought it would be check and checkmate, but the queen is blocking it. Sorry about that. Let's see. Let's see if I did do that. Let's check and check. Okay, queen, queen, rook, rook, bishop, bishop. So even if I did win one of the bishops, this one can move away. So I got to figure out how to do more than just win a bishop. Because if I just win a bishop, it'll be even. And in puzzles, you don't really want to be even. You're supposed to be winning or won the game. That's pretty much how that works. There's also a threat of making a queen here as well. So let's say if I take, and the queen were to take, and I were to take here, this bishop can obviously take here. Check, move over. Oh, this one's a little bit confusing to me. So I'm trying to see how to get like a really good advantage. I thought it was going to be very extremely straightforward when I first looked at it. Checks, captures, and threats. Yeah, because if I just take here, he can just make a queen. And if I take, he would take, and he would be winning by a lot, right? Or no? Take, queen, take. they'll be there at that answer as well. You kind of force this situation to happen. But he still can make a queen here because of the bishop. So, all right. So he has options. He does have options for sure. The only thing that makes sense to me, even if I take here, he can just make a queen. I mean, I can't. Yeah. So if I take here, he's making a queen. If I were to take here, it'd be the only way I can see myself stopping him from making a queen. But my question after that is, let's say I do take here and I do stop him from making a queen. What am I doing after that? Because he can just take the pawn. My knight, my bishop can come in here, but my rook, what was my rook doing? So I don't really see a good answer for that. This is the best move I see so far, but I don't know if it's the answer. And I don't want to take off the pawn because he can just make a queen. So I would have to take it with my queen to prevent him from making one. So I think that's the answer. I don't really see much of anything else. So I'm going to go ahead and, okay. Yeah, I kind of figured it wasn't. I didn't like it too much, but it kind of made it even. But I think we're looking for, obviously, a winning move. Checks, captures, and threats. This is the first check I noticed, but he can just take it. And if he does take it, that'll be forking him. So maybe that's a good thing. This would be check. Instead of the queen taking, I look at other moves. The king can move over in 3 different directions. If the king moves over, I can then take the queen. So this looks like the actual answer. We check. So queen takes, that'll be a fork, winning the queen. And if he moves the king anywhere, I would just take the queen. So that looks like the answer. Checks, captures, and threats. Let's see here. Wait to move. This right here is a check. Not too sure if I like it too much though. The king right here is blocking him from moving forward. The knight is blocking him from moving over. The rook is blocking him from here. So this check will force him into the corner. And after that, this is controlled. This knight check would force the king to go back into the corner. Can't go here because the knight's controlling that square. And that would be checkmate. So that'd be check, check, and checkmate in 3. All right, checks, captures, and threats. It's really a good idea to learn your knight and rook checkmates. Those are really awesome. Yeah, those are, I like those a lot. Those are like one of my favorites that after I learned them. Checks, captures, and threats. Black to move. Okay, okay. I kept trying to think of what white can do. It's black to move. Okay. Now, if I were to take this rook, I don't see what white can do. It looks like it's just simple. But he can with a pawn. And then if I move over, he can make a queen. So obviously, that looks like an issue. And if I go here, it looks like he'll just take this pawn. And then you'd be a rook and a knight versus rook. Okay, so it's not as simple as I initially thought it would be. Because, yeah. So I can't just take the rook. He'll make the queen. And if I try to follow this pawn, he'll take this pawn. So I got to figure something out. Oh, what if I take this? He moves down. I call check. He takes the rook. I call check with this pawn. He moves anywheres, and the queen blocks the square. So that's what it looks like. It looks like I just have to maneuver a little bit. Oh, so he's not taking the rook. So this right here won't be triangulating for that. But even if I make a queen here and he makes a queen, I still made my queen first. And I should have an attack somewhere. I'll make sure I find it first before making the move. This might be one attack right here. And if he moves down, I can move queen here, move over, queen here. Yeah, it looks good. I should do that. And check. Make sure I'm doing this correctly. I can also go like here, but I don't think that's the answer. I think it's moving the queen in. Yeah, okay. Captures and threats. They let me finish it, but you know, you should be able to let me see something here. They let me finish it, but I'm pretty sure that yeah, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't. Yeah, I would have been able to take the knight and call it check again, and take the queen afterward. It'll be trading queens. So that's why I like finishing the puzzle, but they normally don't let you finish most of the puzzles for some reason. Checks, captures, and threats. I don't like this. My knight is hanging. That's the first thing I notice. I don't have an actual check. Like I don't have a direct check. And if I take here, he's gonna take here and call it check. So I just don't like that. I don't see easy way to block in his queen. Because if I just move my rook over, he can just take my knight. I can always try to defend my knight, but then he can just take this knight. If I did that. So basically, this knight is under attack and this under attack. And if I try this knight, this one will be taken. That's pretty much what it looks like. And I'm pretty sure the answer isn't to defend. I'm pretty sure the answer is to attack. And that's where I'm having a little bit of an issue. Now, if I go to knight to b4, I'll be threatening a fork. So that will be escaping all those attacks. And also threatening to take. I'm pretty sure you can just move a piece like a king or even the rook over. So I don't know exactly what I'm threatening. I can, because even though I'm threatening that, it's not guaranteed. So it's like, well, what am I doing? You know, what is the point if I can't just win a piece? That's the only way I can see me escaping the situation. So I'm gonna go ahead and go for it. Okay. That's not too bad. 29 is not super bad. Excuse me. I still can't believe here early on. I just like randomly moved somewheres. I didn't like that at all. I still was able to do puzzles pretty well for the most part after that. The first three after that were kind of off. Yeah, I can play a few games to, or I can play a game against a computer. It's up to you guys. Let me know what you prefer. I'd give you like 2 minutes. You can just message. Hey, you want to play a few games, like 3-minute games, or did you want to me play against the computer and talk about my moves and stuff? I'm not sure what you prefer. Knight to a5 for last puzzle. You know that. Let's see. Knight to a5. Would it be attacking the queen? Um, the queen would have one square, two squares. It might be the beginning of the puzzle. All right. If someone wants to play a few games against me, uh, my username is Benjamin145. So that's perfectly fine. And send me a challenge at 3 minute moves, 3 minute games. I'm sorry. I no longer accept 10-minute games because I explain too much and people are watching. And if you're watching and playing against me, that's not, yeah, it's not really super fair. I usually lose games when I do that. So I rather do 3 minute games and I'll explain a little bit here and there. So Benjamin145. Playing a computer while I wait. I can also do a game against the computer, and we can actually talk about the moves and stuff. Like basically, I used to do in groups, but basically just here, pretty much. Do like the group games. If it loads, it's not really loading. Yeah, saying not responsive. Here normally has like a whole bunch to choose from. I'm gonna see if I can repage. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Okay. I accepted. All right. All right. Always play E4. It's part of my opening report. Knight to F3. Because the Evans Gambit is the main thing I normally play. Other options people have is to do other stuff. All right, castle here. It looks like a free pawn, but I have an actual. I know the neck missing gambit is what I usually play if I get that option. I normally don't see that. I don't know. Yeah, after the pawn being on E5 in here, bishop's kind of blocked in, so I never normally see people do that because it blocks in the bishop, and your bishop doesn't have much. I'll defend the pawn now. It was undefended earlier. I guess I can pin the knight. I guess I can. Okay. If I were to take, he'd have double pawns, but he'd have three center pawns, and he'd have his open F file. So it's not really that bad. Even though his pawns are doubled, he actually has doubled center pawns, and it actually be a pretty strong push. And this right here be open for him, half open. So I'm not interested in doing that for him. A lot of people are like, "Hey, double pawns," and just start taking stuff, but it's not always a good thing to give your opponent. Sometimes it's actually bad for you. So in this case, I think it's bad for me. Okay. Um, but over here, this would be fine to double over here. The center is pretty much locked in. So pretty much soon I think I should just start moving my pawns up. All right. If I take now and he takes back, I can start advancing my pawns. His bishop is basically out of the game. My knights are ready to come in. So I like it. I'll do it. I think it's fine. Yeah. I guess I can just start advancing my pawns and try to get some queenside play. And not entirely sure. I can bring my knight in. If he takes, I take back. But then this pawn will be hanging if I did that. If I take this now, he takes back. This pawn would be kind of hanging. My queen over, and if he were to take, I can take off my, yeah. This looks fine. I'll just pre-move. All right. I can, well, if I take, this pawn will be attacked soon by both. Well, actually, it's fine because I can take that way. And this actually allows my rook to have some type of play. It's kind of hard to move really quickly with my on the laptop. Yeah, that's pretty much the game. And just go ahead and good game. Excuse me. That's a good game, I guess. You can send me a challenge if you like, or someone else can send me a challenge as well. All right, I'll take care. All right, I guess I go ahead of the box then if no one else wants any. right, if you guys want to talk about the moves, that's perfectly fine. We can talk about all the moves. All right. Discuss what you guys would prefer and why. Kind of like how I do in my group games on Messenger chat. But we can do that here. First and foremost, I always like to play e4. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with that, and I'll ask a few questions. Okay, e4, e5. Always play knight to f3 here. Developing my pieces. Normally it says knights before bishops, and Ivan's gambit, so it's always knight then bishops, which allows me to castle pretty early. All right, now here I think the most solid move might be d3. You also have knight to c3 as an option. Also castling. To be honest, I normally castle because I would like if my opponent were to capture, so I can move a pawn up so he can capture, so I can my knight up so he can take it, so I can sack my bishop for the Nakamison Gambit. That's the line that's my favorite line, and it's not almost never played. It's one of my favorites. So the options here are d3, castling, and knight to c3. Not sure what do you guys prefer. I'll give you guys like a minute, like maybe 30 seconds or so, and you can let me know what you prefer, and I can play it. But my normal move is just castling from here, so. And I'll give a few more seconds if you guys are if you guys don't give me the option in a few more seconds, I'm just gonna play castling. Okay, I'll just castle. Castle is my normal move. Okay, and here I had to play b4. B4 is an inaccuracy, by the way. I'm just letting you know right now. I checked with the engines and everything is an inaccuracy. I still play it because if he captures and I play c3, he moves back, and I move my d4 pawn, it actually turns into a Ivan's Gambit, basically. The only problem is that if, let's say, he were to move back, now both my pawns are hanging. So, like, the best thing I think he can do is move back and leave both my pawns hanging, and then I had to figure out what to do. So that's pretty much what's bad about it. But I still like it. It's not the best in the world. I believe the more accurate move is d3 here for your own games if you want. But for me, I like to get into the Evans Gambit line, so I try to force it. And here, both are under attack. And I had to play 5 now. All right, so b5. And I can take, and his knight will be under attack, or I can just take his knight, and he can take my bishop. Now I look at the differences. If I take, and he were to take, I actually like the idea of taking the pawn better than taking the knight. Yeah, I think the pawn better because if I were to take the knight and he were to capture here and I take, it would open up his bishop, the diagonal, and also, I mean, he has double pawns. He also has open diagonal, open file here, so it's like give and take. But I because everything open lines are more open, bishops favor open lines. So why would I open everything up and train my bishop? You know, so closed positions are better for knights, and open positions are better for bishops. So I'm not interested in trading my bishop to open lines for him. You know, that doesn't make any sense. Okay. let's see. Let's talk about a few moves here. I can capture. I can try to maybe kick the knight out. Let's look at a few ideas. So first and foremost, if I capture, he can just capture back. And I'm not entirely sure what a good follow-up will be after that. I mean, I can always move my rook over, but he can castle, so it wouldn't matter. I can take his pawn for free. It is a free pawn. Now he can attack my knight. I can move back. I can block. It looks fine. This looks fine. He can just, even if he attacks it, and let's say I move back, I can even move f4 if I really wanted to protect my knight if I didn't want to move it. So, and in the future, if I play c3, his knight has only one square to go. So I can always move back and attack, but this is a bit under threatened. So, all right, I'll just go ahead and take. Screen's not working too well. Oh, there it goes. Right. I'll just make sure, see if anyone was talking or not. All right. He didn't attack my piece. He decided to defend his pawn that's not attacked. Super weird. I can sack a pawn here. If I sack a pawn, I can call check. So it's not really sacking a pawn because I'll be getting a pawn right back. The problem with that is that my knight will be under attack. So if I take it here, he can take my knight. So, but if he takes, I can always threaten both of them. So yeah, this is actually a lot better than I thought it would be. I can actually take it with my knight. So I'm gonna go ahead. And now I can take here, and I'm threatening the queen and the rook here. And I'm pretty safe, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, he's threatening my bishop. If I take the rook now, and he takes my bishop, he would also be threatening to come in to take my knight as well. So I don't like that. I don't like that at all. If I attack his queen, he can just take my knight. So yeah, if I should probably just take. He takes, me threatened here. So if he goes back, I can attack this twice. Let's go ahead and see if I can maneuver that. I normally take longer in these games, but since no one's really interacting with me or talking about moves, I'm just going to go ahead and just do stuff. Normally the group chat's just a bit more interactive. It's not bad. It's defended by the queen. So he's basically going to be taking this knight now pretty soon. This right here would launch a discover attack against the queen. Let's see here. What do you guys think about this situation here? Like, well, how would you continue and why? I should probably just keep this to messenger chat because it's a lot easier to because I normally wait, and when I'm doing a video, I feel like I have to like rush and keep talking, keep going. But when I'm on messenger chat, I don't feel that way. I feel like I would wait and I'd be okay waiting. And I guess that's because I wonder because I guess because I worry because like if let's say someone is watching this after it's live, I don't want them to sit there waiting for 10 minutes or 5 minutes for an answer. So I guess I get a little bit nervous about it, and then I decide to rush, which I'm pretty sure you know in chess, if you're rushing, it's not going to be any good. So I'm not in a really great situation right now with my pieces, but I'm gonna see if I can wait a tiny bit and see if I can get a little bit of involvement and also for me to clear my head a little bit so I can think about the position a little better. Um, I know right now my knight is under attack, and I don't really have a very good way of. I don't think I have a very good way of dealing with it right now that I can see. So let me see here. So he's definitely going to be taking my rook for sure. I think the best thing I should do will be queen to e5 maybe. Queen to e5 looks like it'll be a good aggressive square and I can eventually my pawns up. So I'm gonna go ahead with that. All right. Hasn't taken my knight yet. I might want to create some type of like luff it's called, I believe, with f3. I like f3 and also rook to c1. I'm going to f3. I feel like give you guys a little bit of time to see if you guys interact a little bit. I guess in the future, I might not be doing these live. I probably just keep it in the group, in the private group chats that I have with you guys. We normally have like over 90% accuracy, so I'll just go ahead with that. I'm pretty sure this game isn't even close to that. I like the idea of rook to c1. The reason why I like it is because after I move the knight out the way, at some point I have this attack against the c7 pawn. So I think that'd be pretty good. And I can go ahead with that. He might actually trade, but I also have the option of this, and I'm gonna see what I can do. I'm gonna try to find some type of counterplay because of what is going on here. I think this would be better to take first. It gives me from taking the rook, which is better than taking the knight, and also protect stops him from capturing my knight. So that looks like the best option here. Keep trying to find different king to g6. You mean knight to g6? It's fine. I'm able to take the rook and still protect my knight. So it's perfectly fine, you know. Here I am thinking about Let's see here. Think about taking on b7. b7 will be check. I like b7 check, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I can also take the knight, but I'm just going to go ahead and take the pawn. I don't want to keep going back and forth. I can also take the knight here with the queen, threatening his queen. Now I have a rook up, so threatening to trade pieces is good. I pretty much got lucky with that. I think she blundered really badly with me taking the rook and everything. She could have taken the knight a long time ago. So I got pretty lucky with that. So the knight can attack the queen. I'll be attacking the bishop. And I also have this here. So like if I attack the queen and she moves, I can actually call a check at some point. So rook on e1. Rook on e1 actually is that looks a lot. That's actually more simple and better. I was trying to complicate it. That actually is a lot. All right, I can go ahead and call check this way. Perfectly fine. King move back. I take the queen. And if he takes, and I take, and he takes, I'll have a knight, and I should be able to finish the game pretty easily. When a game's like, it's probably not the most accurate move, but the thing is like when you want to win the game and convert to winning game and reduce the chances of, that's pretty much what I can do. I feel like I should just take here. He takes back. I take. He takes back, and then I pretty much use my majority and just basically win. So that would be the easiest way to do this. I could complicate it, but there's no reason to purposely make it difficult for myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to do this. Now, if I go here, I think I have the technique right. Now, if I move up one and he were to take it, I can actually move my pawn up. I believe that would work. No, it does not work. Okay. About it, doesn't work in this situation, but I can definitely just trade pawns. Now, if I move up one, I can just make a queen. He doesn't make it in time. Yeah, because there's no reason to when you're winning, even though I sacked the rook. Oh, yeah, the knight wouldn't be trapped there. It wouldn't have been trapped even moves ago. In order for a piece to be trapped, it has to be able to be attacked, and he wasn't able to attack him. And this right here will threaten checkmate in one. So this is fine because I can do checkmate in one. All right. In the future, I'm gonna be going now, but in the future, I'm gonna try my best to when I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try to get everyone involved. And the way I'm gonna do that is I'm not gonna do puzzles first. I'm just gonna be like, hey, we're gonna play against a computer bot. Anyone wants to do this, and I'll wait until about 3 or 4 people are on, or 3 or 4 people are gonna be active. And that way I can start off this way. Because I kind of winged it and tried to throw it in there. And maybe it was my fault of why it didn't work out, because I kind of just threw it there and I kind of winged it. And I was hoping for, the interaction I get in group. But when it comes to the group interaction, I usually talk a few minutes first before getting things situated. I usually wait like 10, 15 minutes for people to come in. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I also have a messenger chat that I have people on as well. Um, if you go to Worldwide Chess Club and find like Benjamin Ramirez, you should be able to find me and message me, and I can add you to my group chat as well. It's usually where I put my videos and I actually talk with everyone. Most people in the group are under 1,000 rated, and I basically try to talk some chess principle and do some chess puzzles and try to get people to think more chess wise. So I appreciate it. All right. Well, I'm gonna get going. Yeah, I think it was. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Should be able to put it in chat for you. If I can find it real quick. Yeah. Yeah, Worldwide Chess Club is a group I have on Facebook, and if you look at my name, it's yeah. If you send me a message on Facebook, I'll be able to add it to my group. My streams normally are basically, for the most part, they're just for my group members that I have that I'm trying to teach. But yeah, sometimes people randomly just pop in because I have it public, which I'm fine with. I'm actually happy to do it. But for the most part, my goal is to help teach people who are under 1,000 for free, who don't have any coaching or classes. I had a little bit, but not a lot. But I know how difficult it can be for people to afford that stuff. So I was trying to do some one-on-one tutoring with some people and try to have a group going. So okay, all right. Thank you for your sub, and thank you for your time. All right, I'm gonna get going. For everyone, just like, subscribe, and share anywhere, so I can grow the channel and contact more people. Thank you for your time, and good luck.